Today we're going to be replacing all of the interior lighting on my Mini with these LED lights from ECS Tuning. So this is the complete interior kit for the R53 Mini, and this is their Ziza, which is their in-house lighting company. This comes as one complete kit with all 15 bulbs, so it should really brighten up the interior of the car, make it look a little bit more modern, and also make it a lot more usable. So each of these lights should be brighter than the incandescent bulb that is already in there. They'll also draw less power, and they should last longer. So overall, this should be a good upgrade, especially if you have some bulbs that are already out. You can just go ahead and get the whole kit. Now, I picked this up for 50% off, and it's on sale right now for 50% off. I'm not sure if it will be on sale by the time this video gets posted, but the normal list price is $130 for all 15 bulbs, which I wouldn't do it at that price. At that price, I would probably try to piece together my own kit and do specific lights that I use a lot. But at 50% off, and $65 for all of this, I think it's actually a pretty good deal. It comes with no instructions whatsoever, but it should be pretty easy to figure out where these go, especially because everything except for this light right here, which is probably the one that's in the trunk, has some sort of mirror on the other side. So once I find out where one of these bulbs go, I should at least figure out where the other one is. Probably it's 2 on the passenger side, 2 on the driver's side. It should be pretty easy. So I'm going to go through and try to show you where every one of these bulbs go. We have 4 different types of bulbs, which they do give me a list breakdown of what they are. So if you want some part numbers to try and figure it out, or to find this kit, this is your part number right here for the whole kit, and it'll give you a breakdown of how many bulbs and what type of bulb it is. To do this job, it should be pretty easy. An interior trim tool would be a really good idea, but I don't have one here with me right now. So I'm trying to get it done with just a flat blade screwdriver. It's also got the ability to become a Phillips head, just in case I need to unscrew any of the lenses, but I'm assuming all of them are probably held in with clips. I've also got a smaller pry tool just in case I need the pick. We'll go ahead and get started. The one I'm going to start with first is the one that I am most excited to change, which is the one in the trunk, which I'm assuming is going to be one of these. So here in the trunk of the car, we have this light over here on the one side for the cargo, which, as you can see, a little bit easier to get from the back side instead of trying to pull from here. We have this one connector right here. Now with LEDs, they have a positive and a negative terminal in. So what you want to do is, if you put it in the first time and it doesn't turn on, just flip it around and it should work perfectly fine. Make sure that you're facing the actual part of the light out towards the lens. You don't want it facing inward. And just like that, we have a bright white LED. It looks much more modern and cleaner, and it's putting out a lot more light. So we'll move on to the passenger side footwell. So this is the light from the passenger footwell. You can see I was not correct. It is not the light like the trunk area. So what we're going to have to do is match this over to one of our lights. I believe this is the kind that we have 6 of. To get this out of a car, it is sitting in the car just like this. I reached my hand around and I was able to push this down out of the way and then simply disconnect it. Came out super easy, no tools required. There is very easy access to it, and it's the same way on the driver's side. So we use this style of T10 bulb. This is the bulb you get 6 of, and this goes in the driver and passenger footwell, and you can see how much more light we have on the passenger side versus the driver side. And then of course that difference will be even greater at night when you actually need them. So doing the visors was actually very tedious because you have to get this little bitty tiny bulb out from a little slot inside the mirror, and it's pretty tight. So popping these 2 little covers off is actually pretty easy. All you're going to do is apply a little bit of pressure and it pops right out. Pretty easy. So as long as this stays up high enough, the lights will stay on. But I'm going to lower it down just so you can see. So if I bring the light over, you can see the little tiny bulb. That little gap there between the band that's holding it in place and the mirror is where I was able to put a pick and slide the bulb out. So it's a very tight fit. I'm sure there's a way you're supposed to take the mirror apart, but I just couldn't quite figure it out. So using a small pick in that little gap right there in between that band and the mirror, I was able to put pressure and apply it to the left, and the bulb slid right out. You could probably also grab it with pliers. I was just a little worried about crushing the bulb, but they're pretty easy to get out once you figure out how to do it once, and then of course you'll repeat it 3 more times. And in its place, we'll be using the smallest bulb, so you'll receive 4 of these, and it'll be 2 for each visor. For the main cabin tool, we're just going to remove the center clear plastic. We're not removing this outer gray plastic. Prying from the back, and the whole piece of clear plastic pops out. Just like the rear trunk area, we'll be using our largest size LED. Now, these can get hot, especially once you've been doing this for a while. These lights have all been on, so we're going to gently pry it out with a screwdriver to avoid burning ourselves. And then what we're going to do is replace it with the new one. Again, making sure that we have the light facing in the right direction and making sure that the polarity is correct before we move on. If it's not, we can just simply switch it and the light should come on like normal. And we can move on to the front cabin light. The front cabin light is removed by prying from the front. There are 2 prongs that face backwards here and 1 spring clip in the front. This whole area is surrounded by a piece of metal, so you shouldn't have to worry about the headliner. So it was as simple as that. I didn't even need a tool to do it, and you can see we have 2 lights right here. So it was actually even simpler than I was making it. These little black capsules here in the back, you can just twist them counterclockwise, and the bulb comes out. Replace the bulb, place the capsule back in, and you're good to go. So just do that on both sides, and then you can place everything back at the ceiling, and we'll have our new lights. For our front cabin light, we'll be using this style of T10 bulb. You're only provided 2 of them. Both of them go right here, and then we can move on to a different part of a car. Next, we'll be using the last of our larger lights, which will go inside the glove box. Putting a screwdriver in towards the outside of the car and just simply prying, and the light pops right out. We're going to pop our bulb out. Again, remembering these can get warm if they're left on for too long. And just like that, it is much easier to see inside of our glove box. So we're now down to 4 bulbs left. So we'll use our most popular type of bulb to replace the door light. And it'll be the same on both sides, and we'll be down to 2 more bulbs. So this is the light from the driver footwell, and I did want to let you know that when I was working on getting this light out, unlike the passenger side, there was like a plastic cover over this to keep the light from going up into the dash and making sure it only shines down into the footwell, which I think is a good thing, but I tried to reach my hand up and push this down, and I noticed that was in the way. So just gently pry from this side right here, and it should pop it out, and you can gently slide it away from the connector. If you don't have that plastic covering, if yours is popped off like mine did apparently on the passenger side, you can just simply reach up, push down on this part, and press down with no tools at all. Well, I have to say, I think the interior of the car looks so much better. It looks much more modern, it's much brighter, it's much crisper, it's a little bit more practical because of course it's easier to see. I have done every single bulb that I can find on the car, and I still have 2 left, so I'm not sure if it's from an option I don't have, or it's just something I'm overlooking, but I cannot seem to find where these 2 bulbs go. But we replaced both footwells, we replaced both vanity lights, we replaced the cabinet lights in the front and in the back, we replaced the trunk light and the light in the glove box. We also replaced the 2 lights at the base of the doors, and really I'm not sure what else there is to replace. So I've got these 2 bulbs, I'm just going to hang on to them. If I ever figure out what I missed, of course I'll replace them, and if you guys know what I missed, point that out. I thought it might be this little spot on the door here, but it's actually just a reflector. There is no bulb behind this. It's just a reflector for when the door is open and allowing oncoming traffic to see it, so I'm just not sure what I'm missing. So of course, if you guys have any questions, feel free to drop those down below. Hit that subscribe button, and I will see you guys next week.